Often in the Lutheran Church, we speak of the message of the Bible using the terms law and gospel. Or you'll hear the phrase, the proper distinction of law and gospel. It's important to get that distinction right, as a confusion of law with gospel leads to despair or dryness of spirit and vain human attempts to do the gospel. I bring this up because in the Old Testament lesson today out of Ezekiel, we're given wonderful insight that helps us to see the clear difference between law and gospel. Now, if you'll read Ezekiel 34, verses 1 through 24, you'll see what I'm referring to. Briefly, it tells us that the priests of God, the so-called shepherds of Israel, have abused the sheep. They have used the sheep for their own gain and not cared for the sheep, nor have they protected them and drawn them together for food and pasturing. Then you hear God condemn them for their selfishness, their greed, and abuse. That is law. God declaring wrong what is wrong, telling them that they have refused to do as God gave them instruction to do. They broke God's word no different than Adam did in disobeying God in the Garden of Eden. That is law. It makes clear our ownership of sin and wrongdoing. That is the law. With it, God condemns sin. And then, beginning at verse 10, God announces good news. He makes clear that he himself will be the shepherd, and he will bring wholeness and restoration and salvation. That is gospel. He begins a refrain that is used over and over again throughout the rest of the chapter. He starts and he says, I will. And the list of what God does through this refrain is glorious good news. That is gospel. God says, I will rescue. I will search and find and restore and bring comfort and feed and heal and gather and on and on. And that is gospel. The gospel goes on and on and on. The list is both impressive and in a way cleansing. It delivers hope and comfort, cheer and blessing. It is all about what God himself will do. And that is gospel. Only God does gospel. We are to simply receive it. We neither work at it nor for it. We cannot earn the gospel. It is pure gift. Gospel is the pure gift of God. The proper distinction of law and gospel is condemnation versus restoration. Crushing penalty versus uplifting mercy. Failed effort versus total grace. The dust, death as wages versus the overflowing, never-ending gift of life. Remember to read Ezekiel 34. In fact, read all 31 verses of the whole chapter, and then rejoice in the comfort of the gospel that God gives you. Goodbye.